Welcome to the Filthy Badge series,
Police officers take an oath to protect and serve,
where we go precinct to precinct finding the dirtiest cops.
Deli joined the force in 2015, but tonight he's in jail charged with rape.
Some officers across the country are misusing that authority.
And now, the accused. On the night of November 3rd, 2015, Officers Derek Stafford and Morris Greenhouse of the Mooresville Marshal's office attempted to stop a vehicle driven by Christopher Few. His son, German Martis, was a passenger in the front seat. After Few and his fiancée, Megan Dixon, had an argument at a bar that evening, they had driven away in separate vehicles. Dixon said that she saw Few pass her, followed by a marked police car with two officers. Greenhouse and Stafford activated the patrol car lights, but Few failed to pull over, resulting in a 2-mile car chase. At some point, Greenhouse and Stafford called for backup, and two other officers responded. The chase ended on a dead-end street near the entrance of the Marshville State Historic Site at the corner of Martin Luther King Drive and Kansas Street. One of the responding officers used his body camera to record the confrontation. Greenhouse and Stafford fired 18 rounds of ammunition into Few's vehicle at approximately 9:30 p.m. Few was struck twice, in the head and chest, despite having his hand in the air, which was recorded on police body camera footage. Martis was hit by 5 bullets. It was also struck in the head and chest, killing him instantly. 3 of the 4 officers involved worked both as police officers and as marshals. While in Louisiana, marshals are authorized only to serve legal documents such as arrest warrants. In Marksville, deputy marshals were empowered earlier in 2015 to make discretionary arrests, preserve the peace, and issue traffic tickets. Norris Greenhouse Jr. was 23 at the time, and Derek Stafford were 32, and they were officers with the Marksville Police Department. Greenhouse was a reserve officer with the Marksville and served as a deputy marshal for the nearby Alexandria City Marshal's office. He had been on the force for a year. Stafford was a lieutenant and shift supervisor for the Marksville Police Department and an 8-year veteran of the department. He was moonlighting as a deputy marshal at the time of the shooting. That night, Greenhouse and Stafford were working side jobs for the city's marshal's office. They were 2 of several officers hired by Marksville's marshal's office about 3 months prior to the shooting. At the time of the shooting, Greenhouse, Stafford, and Marksville Police Chief Elster Smith Jr. were the subjects of 5 civil suits in Avoyelles Parish. Greenhouse was named in one of these. In addition, Stafford had been indicted in 2011 by Rapides Parish on 2 counts of aggravated rape, but the charges were dropped in 2012. Lieutenant Jason Briolet, a 13-year veteran of the Marksville Police Department, and Sergeant Kenneth Parnell, a 5-year veteran, responded to the backup call made by Greenhouse and Stafford. Parnell was wearing a body camera, which recorded at least part of the incident. Briolet and Parnell were placed on administrative leave following the incident. Investigators do not believe either of them had a role in firing their weapons. Colonel Mike Edmondson of the Louisiana State Police began an investigation into the shooting. He said that
that video was incredible. I mean, as a father, much less head of the state police, I looked at that tape and I said, this is incredibly disturbing.
He said that the body camera video recorded by one of the responding officers was essential to the officers being arrested. Other contributory evidence included interviews with the cooperating officers, the 911 recordings, and unspecified forensics evidence. Legal analysts cited by the Advocate newspaper of Baton Rouge, Louisiana, also attributed the arrest to the body camera footage. Ballistics tests showed that four of the responding officers on the greenhouse at Stafford fired their weapons. Although initial news reports said there was a warrant for Few's arrest prior to or after the shooting, the state police have said this was not true. In addition, Edmondson said that there was no evidence of a firearm inside Few's vehicle. The Civil Rights Division of the U.S. Department of Justice, as well as the Federal Bureau of Investigation and the Office of the United States Attorney, are participating in the investigation. Dixon also added that Few had encountered Greenhouse a month before the shooting. He threatened to hurt Greenhouse after the officer contacted Dixon, a former high school classmate, and went to the home she shared with Few. She said Few told Greenhouse, "Don't come to my house again or I'll hurt you." A description of the body cam video contents was presented as evidence during the bail hearings, but the video was not shown. Bail was set at $1 million for each officer on November 24th. Greenhouse's family posted bond and he was released. Stafford posted bail and was released in March. Both men were under house arrest. Stafford's trial began on March 13, 2017, while Greenhouse's trial date was set for June 12, 2017. The judge had postponed these dates in order to allow the defense time to prepare, including for their use of expert witnesses. The jury found Stafford guilty of manslaughter and attempted murder. Stafford was sentenced to 40 years in prison, half of which would be served without benefit of parole, probation, or suspension of sentence. On September 29, 2017, Greenhouse pleaded guilty to negligence, homicide, and malfeasance in office. He was sentenced to 5 years for the negligence homicide charge and 2 years for the malfeasance in office. Sources stated that Few's family agreed to terms of the plea deal. The Attorney General's prosecutors cited differences in the actions of the two officers as the reason for the extreme differences in their sentences. Norris Greenhouse Jr. was released from prison as of July 3, 2019, after serving only 21 months, 25% of a 7-year sentence, while Stafford sits in prison holding that 40-year sentence.
6-year-old Jeremy Martis died in the front seat of his father's vehicle with his dad at the wheel. Investigators say both father and son were shot by Marksville police officers Norris Greenhouse Jr. and Derek Stafford. The officers surrendered Friday night and were charged with second-degree murder for the death of Jeremy and the attempted second-degree murder of his father, Christopher Few.
Did you guys intend to kill that father and son?
Neither officer would say a word as they were rushed out of the Avoyelles Parish Jail in handcuffs. A law enforcement source tells CBS News the officers will not tell state police investigators why they wanted to pull over Mr. Few on Tuesday night, starting a police pursuit that ended in gunfire. Mike Edmondson, head of the Louisiana State Police, has seen the video of the shooting. CBS News has learned it was a third officer who recorded the shooting with a body camera after he responded to a call for backup. According to our source, that officer told investigators Christopher Few was not acting in a threatening manner toward police.
Initially, there was a report that Christopher Few had a warrant out for his arrest. Turns out there is no warrant. He had no gun in the vehicle. What was that man doing to warrant that traffic stop?
I think the rest of the investigation tells us that. I mean, we've got to look at everyone involved, and we'll get to the part of that. But what we learned from the very first night, what we heard an hour after that, was that they were trying to effect arrest warrant on a traffic stop. Not factual. Not factual.
Colonel Edmondson says initially the two officers now charged with a crime claimed that Christopher Few tried to reverse his vehicle and ram it into one of their police cars. This is the cop car that was reportedly hit. The damage appears very minor.
Was Christopher Few someone who deserves blame here?
Well, it doesn't seem from what we see, because we don't know why they were trying to chase him.
A source tells us the two officers now arrested fired a total of 18 shots at both father and son. Mr. Few was shot twice but survived and is listed in serious condition at a local hospital. The Avoyelles Parish coroner says young Jeremy was shot 5 times in the head and chest.